Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Putt.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Today is Thursday, the 25th of August, 2016. Our sun sign today, like it will be for the rest of this month and into the first half of next month, is Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign represented in the tarot card by the Hermit, teaching us the lesson of teaching. Sharing information with others. The light is the information, the light that is being held up in the hermit right here represents wisdom, information, because the hermit goes into solitude to gain wisdom, and once the hermit gains the wisdom, comes out and shares that wisdom. So there is implied in here the idea of selflessness, because the hermit could take that information and keep it to himself and not want to share it. The hermit is also in balance, so this is a time where we need to learn the lessons of balance. It's an earth sign, so we're dealing with the physical reality, but in the physical reality, we need to be able to keep ourselves informed about what's going on. And sometimes in the physical reality, where things are quite dense, there's a lot of darkness. And so in the darkness, you need to have light to be able to see. Light is that which counteracts the darkness. The physical reality could be thought of as a reality where the energy becomes denser and denser, and in the denseness of that energy, things become darker and darker. Therefore, we need to lighten it up with information. Lighten it up. And so we can see on a daily basis how things become so heavy with the information that's out there. How when we have all of this misinformation, we really feel weighed down, don't we? But then when we start to get more information about a situation, we feel lighter because the information has lightened us up. So that's what we're doing in the world. We're bringing light to the world as we share and spread more information. Now, the moon sign is currently in Gemini. It's all about choices, the choices that we make. And it deals with understanding the masculine and feminine principles of life, and how when we combine and work together with those aspects, and we do so by then looking to the higher self to really help us to understand the higher perspective. Because in the physical reality, whereas the two characters, whereas the male and the female, they're down here on the earth. Okay, but they need to look outside of the earth to understand. That's where they look to the higher self. So it's not looking outward, but it's looking inward to that higher self, that higher perspective, so that what we are seeing is information coming from a higher place where it isn't as dense. And from that place where it is not as dense, we can receive information that allows us to bring light to our situation. And in bringing light to our situation, more information, we are then able to make better choices. And the better choices are then lead to better results. When we don't have good information, we make bad choices. That's the problem we're having in the world. Our source of information has been for many, many years the mainstream media. However, the mainstream media is no longer providing an adequate source of information because they've become more corrupt over the years. Okay, it's been going on for a long time. 1917 was when the media was taken over. So really, we don't know a time when the media hasn't been controlled, but at least there was more of a time where there seemed to be independent journalists or journalists within the media that were actually doing journalism, that were actually out trying to spread good information. And as the information became more and more distorted, as people started getting bad information, well, the choices started becoming worse and worse because we're not having anything really to rely upon. So good information equals good results. Bad information, disinformation equals bad results because we can't make proper decisions at all. So we want to make good choices. with the Gemini. It's encouraging us to do that. We want to make good choices with the information we have at hand. We have to discern the good information from the bad information. And we want to be able to share that. We want to be able to be like the hermits, holding that light high for others to see. Because there are always those who are ahead of us on the path, and there are those who are behind us on the path. And ahead and behind is not necessarily a hierarchy of one better than the other. It's just a positioning where one is walking. And so at all times, we could share this energy, and we have the ability to do so to assist others who are on the same path as well. The aspects we are looking at of concern today are oppositions. We have two of them here. An opposition at 11:29 a.m. with Saturn, and then again at 12:34 an opposition with Mars. So if we look at the keywords, Saturn is discipline. Discipline is about focusing our energy. So on one side of the teeter-totter, we have Gemini, who wants us to make good choices, the moon sign, our unconscious desire to make some good positive choices in our life, in all the things we're doing. In order to do so, the other side of the teeter-totter, we have Saturn. It says we have to discipline and focus ourselves. Focus. We can't just, go willy-nilly without any kind of focus, because that's not going to get us where if we're just blown around, like the wind, and we're not really doing anything to grasp onto any information that's helping us. If we're not focused, then our decisions, our choices become unfocused. And then at 12:34, Mars energizes the situation and says, okay, we've got these choices on one side. On the other side, we have this high amount of energy that's infused into the situation. So how do we make choices when we're really energized more? Are we thinking clearly? Because we have a fire sign here, which is adding fire to the mix, adding fire to the air. Fire is a lot of ideas and creativity. So we want to be able to understand how all of that feeds in, tempering what we're learning. We don't want to become overwhelmed with all of this. So a couple of things to be aware of. And then later this afternoon, we have a square. Squares are lessons. So this is with Gemini, choices, communication. And it's a lesson saying we're going to need to look at things from a new perspective. Things that we have seen in one way has been useful, but now we've come to a block in the road. In order to get past this block, the lesson is telling us to look at things from a new perspective, see things differently, suspend our mind. The moon phase is currently 44.6% of the way full. We are making our way back down to the new moon, where we'll be in exactly 1 week from today. On the Jewish calendar, today is 21 Av, year 5776. Daily thought for today is ignoring faults. Until after the final Redeemer arrives, there is no person on earth without some fault. Where this person fails on one count, another fails elsewhere. We don't appreciate someone else prying into our faults and underlining each one with a red pencil, so we know it is not right to do the same with another. This is the way all people should relate to one another, but especially when it comes to your spouse and the members of your own family. Okay, that's a good thought to keep in mind. And space weather, solar wind, 524.7 kilometers per second. Planetary K index into 3 range. We were at a 5 yesterday, up in the storm realm, but we've subsided a little bit. Will be the next 24 to 48 hours in that range. Coronal holes, we see a few opening up that will affect us as we close out this month. M-class and X-class flares are still low at 1%. Geomagnetic storm activity in the mid-latitudes is staying steady, dropping slightly in the active region, 15 to 10%. And in the higher latitudes, it looks like it's pretty stable as well. So things have subsided for the moment, but that will continue and that will change because, as we know, it's space weather. is changing constantly as we are here in the midst of all of this. All right, all right. UFO news is up next. Here we go.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today, 4 stories. 4 stories. The first story takes us to Missouri. This happened last month in July. There's our object in question right here, a larger version of it. This mysterious object appeared when a person experiences, encounters, or witnesses an object which cannot be identified. One of the best reasons why UFOs are strange is the fact that most witnesses do not have good evidence to believe that such encounters happened. However, does not mean that the doors will be closed without examining. While some authorities, even governments, choose to dismiss the sightings, there are still a lot of growing numbers of incidents every day. A Missouri witness at Lee's Summit reported seeing and recording a disc-shaped alien that made a quick descent. It took place July 21st, 2016, 3:28 p.m. According to the witness, the video lasted about 39 seconds. Throughout the footage, a flat or disc-shaped vessel traveled from 1835 to 1905 minutes in the tape. The alleged rapid descent formed an angle at 14 degrees. Upon analyzing, he discovered that the angle of elevation upon entering the screen was about 12 degrees, even though it apparently came higher from the angle. Okay, I don't see the link to the video here, but we do have the picture that was captured so we could see what it was. Over at Missouri last month, July. We move from there to Las Vegas, series of lights right over here. And we jump down over here to this sighting. It says, I shot this from my backyard in the Summerlin area of Las Vegas, Nevada, on the night of the 23rd of August, 2016, just the other night. The weather has improved greatly, even though a wicked storm passed through later in the night. I could hear the wind and the hail hitting the windows. Earlier it was actually really nice, other than a tad bit of wind and haze. The night started off slow, then all of a sudden things started happening. I got a shot clip in the Southern Valley, and then I noticed the amazing UFOs over the Henderson area. They were in a location where it's very rare to see anything. Once they began to move, they ended up in a spot where I see them more routinely. This was just the beginning, as I have more footage from the Blue Diamond Hills that I still need to publish. Okay, there's our lights out there. It's a 15-minute video. So a lot goes on over this period of time. Let me just jump through. Okay, there we go. Alright, and we can see it coming in up in the upper left-hand corner there. Alright, definitely a good sighting. This looks like the light on top of a tower. It's pretty stationary. But maybe that is something. I don't know, is that the, I think that's one of the towers out in Vegas, the large tower. Alright, there you go, there's our sighting. Well, maybe not. Light just disappeared, so. Not the tower. Not the tower. Okay, so that's over Las Vegas on the 23rd. Let's jump up to Mars, or so they say. This was shown as an image from Mars, a shoe. Looking through some Mars rovers, I found a lone shoe on the edge of the crater. This is probably a shoe of a species that were at war long ago, the shoe being the lone evidence that the person had ever existed. How many times in a battlefield or a catastrophic event have we seen photos in the newspapers of the shoes of the victims? Alone, evidence of how hard they were hit, how fast they were taken from us. Well, this is such evidence. A shoe. A shoe. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Wag the dog. Remember Wag the dog? Old Shoe. and they found a shoe. Let's get a shoe, and then they had people throwing the shoes up over the wires. And Old Shoe was the nickname of the guy that got killed out there, and Wag the dog. So we're led to believe here that there's a shoe up on Mars. A shoe. It's been there for a long, long time, and it's still there. Despite whatever conditions exist upon Mars, the shoe is still there. Now, we have seen plenty of pictures to indicate that these pictures from Mars are not being taken up on Mars. They're out in Greenland, they're out in the desert somewhere here on Earth. We've seen the movie The Martian, where we know without a shadow of a doubt that we can fake a mission to Mars. People wouldn't know any different whatsoever. And so, wink, wink, this is a shoe on Mars, if we're to believe that. Because we have such awesome technology that we're able to get up to Mars and take sort of these kind of pictures. Okay, so, yes, am I skeptical about this? Yes, absolutely. Why? Because I don't believe even that we went to the moon. I believe the whole thing was a ruse, as I've talked about and will continue to talk about in the near future. But the other night I even saw there was a special they were playing on one of the channels, American History Channel, American Hero Channel, one of those about the fake moon landing. So even they're kind of getting hip to it in this day and age. And finally, one last piece here for today. And this is a big story that was just came out yesterday. Second Earth discovered. Planet orbiting Earth's closest neighbor, Proxima Centauri, could be home to aliens. Astronomers spot mystery object, mystery world, which could finally answer the question of whether we're alone in the universe. Astronomers have discovered a second Earth orbiting our closest star, and it could have exactly the right conditions to sustain alien life. Stargazers from the European Southern Observatory spotted the mystery world circling Proxima Centauri, a red dwarf star that's just 4 light years away. The planet is orbiting in the Goldilocks zone at Proxima Centauri, which means it's close enough to the star that water would not freeze, but far enough away so that the water wouldn't boil. This is important because the presence of liquid water is thought to be necessary for the development of life. All right, little approximation. Here's it right here. Here's the Alpha Centauri. Here it is way out here. It says now scientists are trying to figure out a way to get a robotic probe to the planet to see if it is home to alien organisms. Although this is not a mission many of us will live to see. We're not going to ever see this, but we know it's out there, and so we feel good about ourselves because, hey, we found another Earth. Or another planet that could be an Earth, but we don't know because we'll never get there. But we can pretend that we did, and isn't that exciting? Using current rocket technology, it would take 76,000 years to get to or near a star. However, there is hope that light sail technology currently under development would help us send a robotic probe to the planet in about 25 years. Dr. Gillian Aglada-Esclad from Queen Mary University of London led an international team of about 30 astronomers during a bid to find the planet, which is called Proxima b. She said, succeeding in the search for the nearest terrestrial planet beyond the solar system has been the experience of a lifetime and has drawn on the dedication and the passion of a number of international researchers. We hope these findings inspire future generations to keep looking beyond the stars. The search for life on Proxima b comes next. All right, and here's some ideas of how big the object is. This is what we're told is the sun. This is Proxima. We get an idea. Here's Jupiter, so Proxima is bigger than Jupiter, and we know Jupiter is bigger than Earth. Okay, we asked Nick Pope, a British researcher who used to run the Ministry of Defense, if he thought we'd find aliens on the planet. He said, well, this game-changing discovery may help us answer the question of whether or not we're alone in the universe. One of the biggest and most profound questions we can ask. Many people believe there are aliens out there, and now it's possible that there are galactic next-door neighbors. Dun, dun, dun. Our neighbors. All right, there you go. So extraterrestrials out there in space. Now, if the reality is that we live on a flat plane with a dome over it, this object would be outside of the dome perhaps, where we're not going to maybe have the opportunity to get out there. Maybe that's part of the challenge. You know, something, time will tell, right? Time will tell, but I think it's all very interesting. Again, it's another bit of information in which we are being led to understand that there is this other being, this other planet out there that is larger than Earth, that is somehow going to affect what's going on here on Earth. Feeds right into the stories of Nibiru, which we talked about yesterday. So, we're being prepared to understand something more of the cosmos. Something is being expanded. Our ideas of looking at things are being expanded. So, it's all good stuff, all good fun. Got a shoe on Mars, and, that's very exciting as well. So, very exciting, very exciting. All right, I'll be back. We'll continue on momentarily. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if by land and two if by sea? And I and the opposition will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a desire to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right, let us continue on. So, yesterday I was talking about the Nibiru. The beings upon Nibiru are the Annunaki. So today I'm going to get into the Annunaki a bit more. We're going to continue on with our study. So right here, starting off, we're going to go back to this site that we were at yesterday, and we're going to go to the section, one of the links called the Anunnaki in the Bible. Okay. If we look, we had Sumerian aliens. We looked at that. Nibiru. And now we have this link here, Anunnaki in the Bible. So let me get back to that page there. Oh. Okay, we've got Nibiru, the orbit we were talking about yesterday. Okay, Anunnaki in the Bible. So here's one of what's called a cylinder seal. These are different images that were out there of the various beings, a representation of a tree of life, some sort of disc-shaped object with wings, perhaps representative of Nibiru, the winged planet. Anunnaki's in the Bible. The most widely read book in all of history, the Bible, has pushed the faith of billions of people and has shaped the very world that we live on. But what if there was something that was not drastically clear in the way that people decipher the Bible? There are some very important parts of Scripture that often go overlooked by readers, but shed some light upon a different side of the Bible and the very faith that billions of people believe in. Before we jump into the Scripture itself, let us clarify what we know about the Anunnaki and who they were. Okay, another cylinder seal here. If we notice, this being is much, much larger than these beings. Okay, these beings quite possibly are the beings that were created by the Anunnaki. Anunnaki is a phrase that has been made famous by Zecharia Sitchin, found within many of his famous books. Sitchin explores ancient mythology, megalithic structures around the world, and various books to demonstrate that an extraterrestrial race visited the planet. The Anunnaki were actual deities, and their names come from the old god of the sky, Anu. But when you look deeper into the Sumerian tablets, you start to notice that there is a stark comparative relationship between the Bible and what these ancient cultures believed in. When you begin to look deep into the Bible, you see that there are some similarities that often go overlooked even by most religious people. Such occurrences include giants in the Bible. The Sumerian tablets were written by the Sumerians. This was a society that invented writing and had advanced knowledge of mathematics, science, and astronomy. According to these tablets, the Anunnaki, or Anaj, or angels. These were people that were technologically advanced and lived on Earth around 8200 BC in the Middle East. Enki and Enlil were at the center of the stories. Enlil was the goddess that ruled over the land, and Enlil was her husband, the god of war. Ninurta was the son of Enlil and Enlil. These gods are very similar to the gods that you would know from ancient Greece and Rome, and this is the first time that we hear about the Garden of Eden. This is the same Eden that we knew from the Bible. Within the Sumerian tablets, Enlil asked the Council of Seven to create what is called Eden. This is a heavenly garden. The Anunnaki were also tied to the Watchers, which are found in the Book of Enoch. Not surprisingly, the Watchers were in charge of watching over Eden. A Book of Enoch is a book that is the ancient Jewish religious work. It is tradition of Enoch closely tied to Noah. As you already know, Noah was in charge of saving all of the world's animals, and his great-grandfather who wrote the Book of Enoch. Much like the Bible, the Book of Enoch is really a series of different books. Inside of the book, you find the Book of the Watchers, Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, Dream Visions, and the Epistles of Enoch. This is a very important read if you want to delve deeper into the religious text. The reason that we're talking about this book is because of the Watchers, the Nephilim, and the bane of angels. The Watchers fell to earth and are our form of angels who father the Nephilim. What is interesting is that many of the names found in this text correlate to those in the Bible: Azazel, Raphael, and Gabriel. And while the book is not considered part of the Bible, many believe it is one of the texts that does hold religious significance. There are many books to have not made it into the Bible that you and I know today. Why? Well, it could be that these texts go against what the church has been telling us for centuries. What we have seen so far is that these two ancient texts seem to meld into each other perfectly, but it goes deeper than that with the Anunnaki. The scriptures, that is the main importance, is Genesis 5:18. Within this text you'll find Enoch, who fathered Methuselah, who fathered Lamech, who fathered Noah. This is within the Holy Bible and directly correlates to the two texts of the Book of Enoch and the Sumerian tablets. Interestingly, the Anunnaki fallen angels would mix with indigenous peoples as stated within the Book of Enoch. Okay, and then we get into giants. Where do giants fit into all of this? Well, the Anunnaki began to mingle with the indigenous people, and this union led to the hybrid race that were called giants. The giants can be found in chapter 7 of the Book of Enoch. The exact wording is, and the woman conceiving brought forth giants whose stature was 300 cubits. The Book of Enoch is not the Bible, but the Bible does talk about giants. You'll find giants in the King James Bible and also within Genesis. Genesis 4 states that there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. But keep in mind that this all occurred before the great flood that Noah is known to be part of in biblical history. There was a war in heaven that caused the watchers to mingle with the women on earth, and eventually it resulted in the giants being born. You also find in Deuteronomy, verse 2:10 through 11, that the Emins dwelt therein at times, a past people, and many, and tall as the Anakims, which were also accounted giants as the Anakims, but the Moabites called them Emims. Anakims, you ever hear that name before? Anakin Skywalker, perhaps? Keep in mind that this occurs after the Great Flood, meaning that these giants must have roamed the earth after the flood occurred. There are several occurrences of giants in Deuteronomy, which you can find. Deuteronomy 2, Deuteronomy 3, Joshua 17:5 also mentions giants. Joshua answered them, If thou be a great people, then get thee up to the wood country, and cut down for thyself there in the land of the Perizzites and of the giants, if Mount Ephraim be too narrow for thee. What is very important to understand is that the Anunnaki are not the creators of the world or the human race. Instead, these are fallen angels that were created by God. You also find mention of Enki, which is a Sumerian god who's considered the lord of the earth. Looking deeper into this mythology, you also find that there are giants mentioned in many texts. This doesn't just occur in one part of the world. Mentions of giants have been found throughout the world, including Rome, India, Egypt. Virtually every corner of the world has some mention of giants or similar race that commingled with humans. Okay, so I'm going to jump over here. This is in Hollywood. This is the building Hollywood and Highland. This is the same building that houses the theater where they do American Idol and other events. The Oscars are sometimes held there. But this is up on the building. This is very similar to that images I just showed you, the Tree of Life type image. Here's one of the Sumerian beings representing, he's holding a bowl, representing a bowl in which the DNA of humankind was created. Here's another being that is there involved with the process of genetic engineering. Question is, why is this up on the building? This is an image as you're approaching down Highland Avenue heading towards Hollywood Boulevard. Hollywood Boulevard is back up here past this building. Why is this there? That's a good question. I ask myself every time I drive into Hollywood. Now, the story is that this building is there. This is all based upon a movie that was done, a thing called Hollywood Babylon, many years ago, and that this is a tribute to that. And the whole complex is based around that idea of Babylon mythology. Could be that. There could be something more to it. But you could see it is an object that is very high up. So somebody could see from a great distance and could see from the sky if they were traveling as such. Now, two of the characters involved here, this is another good site to get some information about the Anunnaki. It says, according to the ancient Sumerian tablets or text, the Sumerian god Anu, the supreme lord of the sky and currently reigning titular head of the Sumerian family tree, had two sons. These were Enki, also known as Ea. He was the lord of the earth and the waters, whose mother was Antu, and Enlil, or Ilu, lord of the air and lord of the command, whose mother was Ki. These two half-brothers, surprise, surprise, did not get along. Critical to their rivalry, particularly from Earth's viewpoint, was the fact that Enki had been the first of the Anunnaki to hazard a trip to Earth to begin mining operation for gold. When this effort did not apparently produce gold in sufficient quantities, Enlil was brought in and given command and armed with a new plan, an early vision of the New Deal. The revised program was to mine gold from deep mines in the earth. According to Sumerian text, during a visit by their father Anu, the Anunnaki made a decision. The gods had clasped their hands together, had cast lots, and had divided. Anu then went up to heaven. To Enlil, the earth was made the subject, the seas enclosed as with a loop. They had given to Enki, the prince of earth. Sounds fair, as Lawrence Gardner points out. Enki was not happy about his brother's promotion, because although Enlil was the older of the two, his mother Ki was Anu's junior sister, whereas Enki's mother Antu was the senior sister. True kingship claimed Enki progressed as a matrilineal institution through the female line, and by this right of descent, Enki maintained that he was the firstborn of the royal succession. Okay, there's a lot more to this, but what we have here is we've got the two brothers. These are very significant in the entire story, Enlil and Enki. One of the brothers came through a line where his mother being the elder of the two sisters, because Anu was married to these two different women. They were sisters, an elder sister and a younger sister. The older sister, married to Anu, gave birth to Enki. So he believed that this was his rightful place. However, Enlil claimed that he was the rightful inheritance because of his relationship. And so what we have here is we have two different lines. We have the matriarchal line and we have the patriarchal line. And there has been that battle throughout time that we have seen. When we have Yahweh and the stories in the Bible, we have a patriarchal line that has been followed all the way down through King David, Solomon, and then when it comes to Jesus, now we have a separation because now Mary comes into the picture. We don't have the seed of Joseph. We have Mary and whatever the extraterrestrial or otherworldly source that came in to impregnate Mary. So now we have things progress. So it seems to be the same battle between the brothers that is going on. When we look at the story of Yahweh and the story of creation, it mirrors the stories of Enlil and Enki. So somehow or another in all of these stories, since we know that the story of Enlil and Enki and the Anunnaki preceded any of the biblical stories within the Garden of Eden, we can think that perhaps Yahweh, the story of Yahweh, might be a combination of Enlil and Enki, representing both the good and the bad sides. It could be two different beings as well. I would tend to think that Enlil more is along the line with Yahweh, because he was the one who ordered a lot of these things to occur. Some of the way in which he was creating things and going about and making rules and orderings, he seemed to be more in the line with the stories that we know of Yahweh. And then as humankind evolved, first they were created as a slave race. Enlil wanted them to remain slaves, but Enki did not, because Enki was actually the geneticist who was involved with the actual process that was taking place. Enlil was the one who said, make this happen. Enki was the one who made it happen. And once the creation was alive and moving in the world, Enlil wanted to keep it dumbed down. Didn't want it to have information, because if it had information, it would figure out what was going on and it would cease to be their slave. Well, Enki felt bad for that because this was his creation. He wanted to see it evolve. So he wanted to provide it with information. So we have a battle going on between the two brothers of how they want to look at humankind, to deal with humankind either as a slave race or freed up. And that has been our challenge throughout time. How are we going to move through life? Are we going to be slaves or are we going to be free people? And this whole concept has moved all the way down. So in 2016, when we hear the issues of slavery that are still brought up, It is because the idea is deeply, deeply, deeply embedded within our consciousness because it goes all the way back to the beginning. We were created, according to all of these stories, as a slave race. And the various books that we have that have discussed such things have not really given us the truth. We haven't gotten the right information. And therefore, since we don't have the correct information, the choices and the decisions we have made along the way hasn't necessarily been the most accurate that we could have because we don't have the best information. If we click on this link here, the Sumerian family tree, this is a good little assessment so you could see the order of how things were here. Up at the top, we have Apsu and Tiamat. This would be the mother, the father energies there. They gave birth to a number of children, Mamumu, Lamsu, Lamadu, Ansar, and Kishar, and then Kingu is another one here. And then from them we had the birth of Anu, Ki, Antu, and then from Anu and Ki we have the branch that brought us Enlil, his half-sister Nixhaxarag, Ninlil. And we have over here on this branch here, we have between Anu and Antu, we've got Enki. And then from then we have Marduk. And all of these names and characters come about, and we can see their stories played out biblically, especially when we get into the stories in Babylon. Okay, whenever we get into these stories of Babylon, and we have different characters, the stories of Tammuz, we're starting now to talk about stories that involve characters like Allah, who was involved there. Allah seems to have been associated with Ninurta. I believe it was Ninurta the hunter. Another name would be Sin. Okay, it was the nickname there. He was a moon god. So he comes from this side over here. Whereas on this side we've got Marduk, which was a different warrior. So we've got battles going on here between different deities. What do we have going on right now? Battles of different deities. Whose God is better? You got the Islam saying their God Allah is better, and then we have the Christian side which is saying nope, their God Yahweh is better. And then we have, or the Jewish side, and then we have the Christian side which is saying no, Jesus is the one. And then outside of all of that, you've got another group of those who look at Buddha, and Buddha was the wise teacher. But Buddha wasn't considered one of the prophets like some of these, but he was a wise teacher along the way. And if we look at the story, we can find where he fits into this hierarchy as well. So check that out. I think you'll find that quite interesting. Now, here's a nice, good article about this Book of Giants. It's a 2,000-year-old Book of Giants, describes how the Nephilim were wiped out. It says more than 60 years ago, excavations at the Qumran caves revealed almost 1,000 ancient scrolls that offered important glimpses into humanity's past. Archaeologists were stumped to find one unusual text among them, a scroll that offers clues regarding the demise of the Nephilim, called the Book of Giants. The Bible makes several references to Nephilim, and most of them can be found in the book of Genesis. The bulk of information pertaining to these giants of old come from the apocryphal Book of Enoch. This ancient Jewish religious work is attributed to Noah's great-grandfather, although some scholars date parts of it to around 300 BC. Enoch is a puzzling character, to say the least. The book of Genesis tells us he lived on earth for 365 years before being taken by God. He walked with God and was no more, for God took him. During this time down there, our planet was also inhabited by angels who interacted freely with humans, eventually interbreeding with the daughters of men and giving birth to a race unnaturally strong and giant hybrids called Nephilim. The origin of the word Nephilim isn't fully understood, but scholars have proposed several etymologies: the fallen, apostates, or those who cause others to fall down. Regardless of their name, the Nephilim have always been a synonym for giants. Alright, so here's remnants of what was found there. All right, so we have these stories here, and so according to the stories, we've got humankind was there was life on the planet. There were these primitive beings that were on this planet, and then along came Enlil and Enki, and Enlil said, "We want to create this slave race," and so to help them mine for gold, and so Enki got involved with the process, and they tweaked the DNA of this being. They went through various different challenges as they found the right mixture. And then once they did, we now have this humankind that we have the story of Adam and Eve, and life began to progress. And then Adam and Eve were given an opportunity to become aware of their situation. And once they became aware of their situation, Enlil no longer wanted them, so he kicked them out of the garden area. And then they go off into their world, and Cain and Abel are born because now there is some manipulation that occurs within there. Uh, these stories also kind of tie in with the story of Yaldabaoth in the Gnostic Gospels. And so now we have Enlil and is off and upset with Adam and Eve, and Cain and Abel come into the picture, possibly because of some genetic remixing, or as the Gnostic Gospels talk about, a rape that occurred where Yaldabaoth raped Eve, and then she gave birth to these beings. And then along the way, we've got the fallen angels, the others who come down, and now they start interacting with these women. And as they're interacting with them, we have the giants that are created, and eventually, as the Sumerian tablets go on to say, that one day Enlil just got tired of it all and wanted to wipe them all out. So he decided he was going to do this great flood and wipe out everything upon the earth. And so that was the objective. But Enki was the one who was able to step in and help warn, uh, who we know of as Noah, and now we have the story of the flood and Noah and so on. So it's the same story over and over and over in just different ways of being told. I wanted to bring these two other links up for you here. This is the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch, written during the 2nd century BCE, is one of the most important canonical apocryphal works and probably has a large influence in Christian, particularly Gnostic, beliefs. Filled with hallucinatory visions of heaven and hell, angels and devils, Enoch introduced concepts such as fallen angels, the appearance of the Messiah resurrection, a final judgment, and a heavenly kingdom on earth. Interspersed with this material are quasi-scientific digressions on the calendrical systems, geography, cosmology, astronomy, and meteorology. The extent has been prepared especially for sacred text. This is a great improvement over the versions on the internet with an introduction, correct version numbering, page numbers, and so on. Okay, so let's go just look at the first chapter here. What I think is very significant about this is this story here tells us right off the bat what's going on. This is the words of the blessing of Enoch, wherewith he blessed the elect and the righteous who will be living in the day of tribulation, which is what we know of as this time now, when all of the wicked and the godless are to be removed. So therein lies the whole significance. Why is this book not included in the Bible? I believe this book is not included in the Bible for that very reason right there, because it says that the wicked and the godless shall be removed. Now, when the Bible was written, the Bible was put together by men. It is filled with stories of people who were inspired by God, who lived according to the Word of God. And those stories, they made their way down, either orally or sometimes written down. And when they were finally put together into this book in 325 AD in the Council of Nicaea, there were men involved in the process. They had different agendas. Some wanted to get the truth out, some didn't. As they were going through the various books, the Book of Enoch was one of those. They decided to disclude from there. They put the Book of Revelation in instead. This Book of Enoch, you could see how it could be dangerous to an agenda if you are one of the wicked and godless who's trying to remove information, because this said that the wicked and the godless are going to be removed. Okay, so It's not quite something you want to let know out there, that there's a hierarchy that is going to come to this planet and it's going to remove you for doing things that you've been doing, because apparently you're rebelling against the whole message, the whole picture, the whole plan of God that was put into effect. And this link right here for you is a PDF version of the Book of Enoch in case you want to download it. It's the entire book. Thought you might find that useful to have that. So I made that link available for you. All right. So quite a story. Quite a story. Um, I've been doing a lot of study with this. I've been looking at comparisons between the various different books. And I'll get to that at some point in one of these upcoming shows where I'll show you the graph and the maps I've been drawing out in this regards, because there is a lot of comparison. And when you start looking at the stories, you start to see it's the same story told over and over. Whether you're looking at the Gnostic Gospels and the Apocryphon of John, or the origin of the world, where we have characters of Yaldabaoth, who is a fallen one who comes into this world, or whether it's the Sumerian, where you have Enlil, Enki, and Anu coming down to Earth. And prior to that, we have Alulu, who first came down, or whether we have the biblical stories, where you have the fallen angels coming down, the Garden of Eden story. It's all the same story. It's all the same story. Therefore, the characters are all the same. They just have different names and different times. Okay, so that is the whole challenge for us to put this puzzle together to see what's what, how this all comes together. And if we are able to do that, I think we'll have a great understanding about what's going on. But it is a puzzle, and it's quite interesting, and it's quite a mind bender if you want to spend some time with it. These links I gave you, invaluable sources of information. Just start digging through there, and you'll find that one link will lead to the next, and you'll really expand your library of information if you don't already have these links, um, and be able to look at the situation and figure it out. And once you figure it out, it kind of changes the way that you see everything happening, because you understand there's a bigger picture, there's a bigger story. There's a gentleman out there, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, an Italian gentleman who has done a great analysis of the Bible, because he claims to be a translator that has worked with the Vatican for many years. Tomorrow I'll bring his information up on the show. And he has a translation of the biblical story, but from what he claims is a more direct source than what we have as the Bible, because he talks about a Bible that existed before the Bible that we know of as the Bible, and what the direct translations led him to understand. And it ties in with all of these things I was telling you here. So we'll get to that. I'll bring that up tomorrow so that you can see that. In the meantime, let's move forward here. I have an article over at In5D, or Cosmic Starseeds, excuse me. This is by Michelle Walling, and this is about the Akashic Records. The term Akashic record is used for the Creator's account of everything that has occurred in the past, present, and future history of creation. This record consists of energetic light patterns that are tuned to a particular vibrational frequency unique to its contents. Ultimately, the code is based upon the frequency of love. Knowledge about the ability to access your personal Akashic record can reveal the answers to who you really are. There are various levels and kinds of Akashic records created in order to be able to categorize and file such records. For example, a person's record of a particular lifetime can be in the form of a movie, holographic images with the feelings and the energies of events and emotions, so that they may be reviewed later on as a learning tool. The planet's record might include the experiences of every being on it and travels through the solar system. Akash is the actual energy signature held within the ether. Aka means space, storage place, or ether, and means sky, hidden, or secret. A human's Akashic record is a holographic energy pattern stored within our DNA. The DNA is present within the nucleus of the cells of the body. The DNA pattern is repeated for every cell of the body, so that your Akashic records can be accessed through a single cell in the body. Because of their holographic nature, the layers of the Akashic records can be imagined as a set of Russian dolls nestled within one another. For an individual, the Akashic record for a human lifetime incarnation could have the following information: a record of an individual cell in a human body, a record of a group of cells that make up the human body and the experience that they are imprinted in them. A soul's record could have the experiences listed above for an incarnation, plus a record of all the incarnations experienced, and so on. So you can see there's a lot of information that occurred within this Akashic records. You see here a graphic that shows the DNA, and then we have the image of the tree of life, which ties right into this. Because ultimately, when we break it down, the universe is an electromagnetic place, where it's an electromagnetic exchange that is taking place between masculine energies and feminine energies, energies which send out and energies which receive. And these energies are constantly interacting with each other, male and female energies. And as they do, they're creating another byproduct, which is then going out and creating in and of itself, creating a masculine and feminine energy that is going out. And so we have this energy that we're constantly being made aware of, an energetic exchange. Our bodies, being receptors of this energy down in the physical world, have within it places where we are able to store, not just physically within our body, but in a dimensional aspect of our body that is outside of the physical, where information is stored kind of like on a computer disk. Okay, this is what the Akashic is, and we have the ability to connect into this. You see, we don't have to know everything, but we have the ability to connect to all the information we need, like the computer and the internet. Okay, one thing about it is we have to learn to discern the information that is available, because there is a lot of information out there, some good, some not good. Our job is to discern what is what as we go through these sources of information, to be able to learn what we can and throw away the things that we understand are just garbage. You know, the phrase garbage in, garbage out, when it relates to computers, it's how it is with us humans. And as we look at the whole process, we see a really strong connection between us as humans and computers. There's a direct relationship between us as we are dealing with the universe, because we are like human versions of these computers that are moving around, connected electromagnetically to something much larger than where we are, not only externally, but internally. Okay, so great article. You could see there's a lot to this. Many pages, or a lot of information, some great info here. Down here there's a guy, you want to check out this here. Andrew Bartzis, he's called the Galactic Historian. He tells this amazing story. There's hours and hours and hours of his information talking about our past. He reads the Akashic records talking about our past. Now, you can't always verify this information, because when he starts talking about things that are millions of years in the past, we really have no way to verify that. But when you listen to him tell the stories, he's telling these stories that are quite amazing, and in some level do make a lot of sense, helps us understand what's going on. So that's a story for another day. I added another link for you here to this ebook by Michelle Walling. I think you might find it really fascinating and helpful. It's called How to Ascend. This is the link to the PDF. She has this available for free at her website, Cosmic Star Seeds, and talks all about the Ascension 101, intention and awareness, going within, loving yourself, healing, raising your vibrations, transmuting karma, changing your thoughts, transmuting fear, taking back your power, and mastery. So really an awesome resource to have, to learn. Again, Michelle is an excellent teacher and an excellent writer, and you should, check out her material. And, once you find the links to these sites that I'm putting up here, it leads you to more links of more information. So between, her and the information over at Greg Prescott at In5D, you're getting some quality information there that will really help you along the path. And that's what it's all about, finding good teachers out there in the world where we can trust the information that we're getting and then be able to learn from it. And that is the key. All right, here's a channeled message. This is again Archangel Gabriel, and this was channeled yesterday. Here we go.
Gabriel Daily Message / Wednesday, August 24th, 2016 by Shelley Young. Dear ones, just as you may resonate with certain spiritual paths, teachers, healing modalities, or areas on your planet, so it is with the areas you feel drawn to offer your loving service to. Some of you may be passionate about helping animals, others may feel called to help people, to lend your energy to certain causes, or to assist the planet in specific ways. We urge you to stop making others wrong if they are not feeling the same draw as you are to a certain area of service. These many different service paths ensure that diverse areas of need get attention. It is through your mindful activism you will raise awareness and find others who feel drawn to that particular area to help. People will help in the ways that best honor their own particular soul paths. There are many on your planet who may seem like they are doing nothing at all but who are in reality being of tremendous service to the planet and her grids by holding and transmuting energies in a certain areas. You simply do not know what another's soul agenda is. When you judge people and the way they care, you create separation in a time when your planet is striving to unify. You could even dissuade someone from trying to assist at all if they are feeling that everything they do is wrong to someone. Embrace what you feel passionate about, be your service, and accept that just as you have found your perfect match of purpose, others will find theirs, too. We urge you to focus on and celebrate the common denominator in all of it, which is souls evolving, caring, and serving in their own unique ways, which energetically can only support the whole. Archangel Gabriel.
All right, that is a very good message. It kind of fits into the whole idea of, this diversity and this tolerance that we are having expressed in the world. We want to be able to understand we all have a purpose for being here. There isn't anyone here that doesn't have a purpose. Shakespeare said, all the world's indeed a stage, and we are merely players, performers, and portrayers. So we are here with purpose, and we want to encourage everybody, but at the same time, down here in the physical reality, we get caught up, we get lost in the density of what's going on, and there's so much information that the choices that we have, we really have to, discern. We have to use our discernment, and that becomes the problem because when we start talking about such things as discerning information, it's often distorted. We get it confused because we think that we're trying to not listen to somebody or we're trying to put somebody down. And, we've gotten to this really bad political correctness that is going on that is using all these phrases that, racism and this kind of ism and this ism to criticize the way that we're looking at the different differences we have. If we would just embrace these ideas and understand we all have a piece of the puzzle, but not get caught up in the political agendas that are being pushed, we find that we are informed in a way that's going to be more effective for all of us. And that's really what it's all about. So as we can see from everything I was showing you today, we live in a reality, a world that is filled with information. Information is pouring in, pouring in, pouring in. Information is light. As this information comes in and we are immersed with this information, we have to process that because we're processors of this information. We take this information, we hold it in our body. It's in there. The history of who we are and where we've been and what we've done is embedded within our cells, not just in one person's, but everybody's, in a collective knowledge. And when we separate from that, then we forget about who we are. But when we collectively come together to understand that, we're able to have a better understanding of which way we're going. And it's because of the lack of being able to discern. We get caught up in all of this nonsense where we're just in a confusion because there is agendas that get put in. And then we have to keep in mind that there are those out there that just aren't here to do good things. And we have to keep that in the mix as well, because we look all the way back. You had Enlil and Enki, two brothers fighting, two brothers who had different ideas. So there's one part of humanity which is encouraged to be free, where there's another part of humanity which is desired to remain a slave. And we're battling back and forth between these two: freedom or servitude, freedom or servitude, or we'll just say slavery, because we all have the ability to serve, and we all like to serve. We don't like to be made a slave, but we like the idea of serving because it feels good to provide service to others. It doesn't feel good to be a slave to somebody, and that's the issue. So we're figuring it out little by little. So all of these stories that are going on, you could see it's all one big story, one big event of us learning and understanding how to process energy outside and inside of us so that we can move through this world. And when we tie it all together and just see the oneness of everything and the connectiveness, it really is quite fascinating. All right, our meditation for today: close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath, and exhale again. And one more breath. Hold it, and exhale. Now continue to breathe easily in and out. And as you breathe, think about the information that is continually exchanged throughout this world. Information that comes to us from someplace deep within, and information that comes to us from without, by others who are expressing that information that they are receiving. And this information clashes with each other in the world, and we find ourselves in a dilemma of how to move through these decisions that we have to make, how we move through this field of information. And so we imagine ourselves picking up a sword, the sword of discernment. And we use this sword as we're moving through this information to cut away the information that we have discerned as being unhelpful or disinforming. And we keep the information that is helpful. And we use this sword of discernment to help us understand. And this sword is representative of our words and our expressions of actions, because it is our words, it is our actions, it is our expressions that help us to discern right from wrong, good from bad, and the ways and the choices that we make upon this planet. So let's imagine ourselves today just simply walking through this world and observing all of the different bits of information that are available to us. See if we can understand the difference of the information that is working to manipulate us because of some particular agenda of the physical world, as opposed to the information that is meant to enlighten us, because this information comes from someplace deep within. And so just observe throughout this process of the day to see and learn without judgment. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, thank you for the blessings of this day. Thank you for allowing us the opportunities to live this reality here upon the earth at this time. Thank you for the opportunities to be able to discern those things that help us from those things that hurt us. And with this sense of discernment and understanding, the ability to put into practice those things that help us so that we might be more effective beings upon this earth, in this world, as you have created us to be. And so let our subconscious mind just continue on this journey of observation, observing everything around us and the information we are receiving, knowing that as we discern good information, we make better choices. And as we get caught up in the agenda-driven information, we make choices that are not necessarily for our highest good or best interests. And we discern the difference so that we can be more effective. So let the subconscious mind continue on that journey of observing and discerning without judgment. And let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is the show for today. Thank you so much for being here. Between yesterday and today, a lot of information about the Buru, a lot of information about the Annunaki. There's tons of links for you to follow. Follow the links. If you haven't begun this journey of studying these subjects, you've got a great starting point. And if you have, these links and this info should help you to move even further into the study. It's a fascinating study. It's like a huge puzzle. And we have the opportunity to put this together to have a deeper understanding of who we are, why we are here, and what our purpose is. And once we figure these things out, it makes it much, much easier because we understand there truly is a purpose for our being here. It's not just some random event. Alright, so all this is available at firstcontactradio.com. In the meantime, have yourselves an awesome day as we wrap up this last week of the month of August. Well, we do have a couple days next week, so we're getting close to the end. Anyway, that's it. Have yourselves an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.